I'm your Chair Talk host Nemanja, and this is retrospective from the last week episode with Kosta Andrić from ICT Hub. What is corporate innovation in the nutshell, and why is it so different from the innovation in some other kind of organizations?
We like to work on business innovations, which actually in a nutshell to mean that it's when organization takes set of activities in order to improve their efficiency, effectiveness, or their competitive position on the market. Industries will mix at a greater space than now, so it will be everyday situation that somebody who played in one industry decided to switch to another because they have some insights on customers and so on. We live in the unique moment when you can actually build something which can scale.
This is Chair, place where we discuss innovations. And today we are going to talk about why VR is not the mainstream, even though in 2016 it was so hyped and it was so many investment in VR startups. Today we can hear that VR is dead, but is that really true? On this subject I have a great pleasure to talk with Adrian Jura. Adrian is currently studio production manager in Ubisoft. But here in the Balkans, he's well known as a co-founder and a long-time CTO of Apex, right? Adrian, and this is very interesting to me, personally, he's a passionate paraglider, proud gamer, member of Serbia Game Association, and VR enthusiast. So, Adrian, welcome to Chair. It's a great pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, and thanks for the introduction. I started with gaming 10 years ago, something like that, with IPEX, and my beginnings are linked with IPEX Entertainment. It was, let's say, my first success, and I'm really proud of what we managed to do with the company and the impact it had on the game development in Serbia. At that time, the game industry was non-existent in Serbia, and it was really hard on many aspects. But we managed to achieve a lot of things. At the same time, there were also some other companies that started, and we together managed to contribute to the growth of the game development ecosystem in Serbia. So we all must be proud of that, and I think that was one of also biggest achievements that we made there. At one point, we had even 400 people working on Hopa games, hidden object puzzle adventure games. And this was our main product. We managed to actually reach the top of the world with the product that we made. And the question was what to do next. So we were not all aligned on the same vision where to go next, because we needed something more to continue working on. And that's when I decided to leave the company and to start a new company working on VR and developing VR games.
So we will come to VR. Just want to ask you from this perspective regarding the Apex. You told me what you're proud of. Can you tell me from this perspective what would you do differently?
There were a lot of things that I would do different, of course, because I have a lot of more knowledge and experience now. But the problem is that when we started to build the company, we didn't have enough experience regarding managing the company. So probably the most of the things that I would change is regarding how we build the company and how we manage the people there. We were good from a technical standpoint. We were good in delivering products for the market. We had success with those products, but as we scaled really fast, the problem was in building the company to work on a bigger scale. So probably the most things that I would change would be that, because I learned a lot of things during that way, and I learned how to manage the company better now, of course, because I have a lot more experience, but this is something that we all need to learn all the time.
Let's move on to VR, and I'm sure that it's not dead, but why still is not the mainstream?
I would not say that VR is still not mainstream. So the problem with VR is that the expectation were really high, and a lot of people expected it to be mainstream now, to the market size to be a lot bigger than that is now. And there were a lot of problems with the first generation of VR headsets. They were expensive. You needed a expensive computer to run the games. There was a connection with the cable to the computer. Some VR headsets, the quality was not so good. It was hard to set up. And a lot of those problems are now solved. I could say that are solved with the standalone headsets like Oculus Quest 2, where it's a standalone device that's run by itself. You don't need any computer. It's wireless and it's cheap. It's actually $300 on the market, so it's a really good device. And we'll just now see the growth of the VR because of those standalone headsets.
We're here talking about innovation, and VR is by the nature something innovative and it's novelty. But then question arises, how to innovate in something that is by nature novelty?
There are a lot of fields where we can innovate in VR because the problems that are in VR are not present in traditional, let's say, flat screens where you are building something for that. You are using for VR your body, and a lot of things are linked with that. The innovation can be regarding hardware or software. So if we are talking about software, we have a lot of innovation regarding the haptic feedback, because if you want to grab an object in VR, you need to feel the weight of it. So how to solve that problem? So we saw a lot of devices that are trying to solve with weight shifting the weight on the device or something like that. On the software side, there are a lot of problems regarding the feel that you are experiencing. So I see the most common mistake is that people are trying to put the first time users for VR in a roller coaster where the speed is moving really fast, and most of those experiences are not at high quality and you will get noisier. There are some really interesting things how we could solve that issue. So because our body, if our body doesn't feel what our eyes see, it's trained to react as it was poisoned, and that's why you are getting noisier. So we need to trick the brain to think we are doing that. One of the things, let's say, if you are moving in the game, you could use some kind of narrowing field of view. This is happening as you are reaching higher speeds. So in that kind of way, you could trick the body to think it's moving faster. So there are a lot of really interesting things and researches done in that field, and there are a lot more issues to be solved. The most important thing is, let's say, to have the experience where you are feeling natural. You have natural feelings, like trying to pick an object from tables. If you have a table in front of you, the user will want to pick every object and to interact with it. So in the traditional games or experiences, you don't have problems like that. The user can go to the places that you didn't expect him to go through the walls or something like that. So it could reach a level that you didn't think he would reach if he's not able to move in that way. But in VR, everything is permitted. So you need to think of a really different kind of ways how you could, from a design standpoint, how you could give a users a natural experience. Because without of that, the VR will not be, let's say, special, will not be anything else than just images on the screen in another device.
You gave me so many interesting examples. This is I don't have any experience with VR so far, so just by listening on this, it's very interesting. I remember that you said about the roller coasters, because probably a lot of people saw those clips on YouTube that somebody is on roller coaster and he's screaming and everything. So I think that's very interesting part of the VR, especially from your perspective when you're thinking of the motorics and everything that is going behind.
Yeah, the problem is that one of those experiences are mostly in 3 degrees of freedom. So what does it mean? It only tracks the rotation of the head, let's say like that. When we are talking regarding the VR, we are mostly thinking about 6 DOF. 6 degrees of freedom. So you could move forward, backward, lean. So that's the whole point of VR. The problem is that you have a lot of, let's say, cardboard VR, where you could acquire a headset from supermarket, some kind of plastic headset. You can put your phone in that, and you will think that the VR is that, and it's really a bad quality. Okay, it's the first touch with VR, but the problem is that the people will think about the technology based on that. So it didn't help a lot to the technology. It helped in some other ways to be approachable to people, to know that VR exists, but they think that VR is still that quality that they tried, let's say, a few years ago when Gear VR was popular. So now it's completely different, and I think we now need to re-educate the people regarding the VR and what it is now on the market.
You gave me many examples of innovation inside VR, inside of it, and I want to ask you how you made the decision what to innovate next and where to go next.
The most important thing is the playtesting. So you need to detect the problems that are arising in VR and your experience that you are building. And playtests is something that helps you a lot when you are trying your experience games VR with real users. You will find out a lot of different things, because you can do things in an unlimited number of ways. When you click on a, let's say, icon on an app, it's not so many ways you can click it.
Yeah,
you can click a different position.
Yeah.
But in VR, you can approach it from a lot of different standpoints, and then you can see how the people are reacting to that and detect the problems that are in VR. And based on that, you will have a list of problems, and then you can see how you can solve them. A lot of those problems are unique for your experience, and most of them don't exist in traditional media. You don't have resources where to read how to solve them, so you need to be innovative there regarding the solutions and to test with the users. So you are making, let's say, 5 or 6 different kind of prototypes, and then you are testing with the user and see what works best and try to give try to get some conclusion from that. And most innovations come from experimenting like that. So I would say that the most critical part is playtesting with different users. Not all people are the same. They play in different styles. They are all of different height. So height is also something that affects the player. If you put a button in a game very high, shorter people could not reach it. So those kind of things are something that you need to think of. It's not just like you have a joystick, keyboard, mouse, something like that, but your whole body affects how you will experience the game.
Basically, everything is about the user experience there, right?
Yeah, it's user experience is very important, and the most important part is that we need to learn about the human body a lot, and how it functions, and how can we provoke some movements, like that. I saw a lot of people that have a table in front of them in the game, and in real life they don't have a table, but you have some controllers that you are holding VR, and when you are finishing with the experience, you try to put that controller in the virtual table, and they just fell down. So this is one of the problems that you have in VR when
you're expecting that the controller to stay there, right?
You're expecting that the table is in front of you, so the immersiveness of the VR is really high, and these kind of things cause you a lot of problems in the designing of the game, the experiences, and it also gives you a lot of better tools for trainings, education. It's proved that VR experiences have a lot better engagement rate for trainings, and the knowledge that you get there is a lot higher. So a lot of companies are using VR for training people for different kind of jobs.
You mentioned the users so many times. I want to ask a question regarding types of the users, because there is users that you can test your product that are already familiar with VR. How are you approaching the people that never used VR? Is there a difference from those two
There
parts?
is a big difference, and mostly we are testing with the users who didn't try the VR. Why? Because they don't know anything about VR. They have expectations, and you could put a user who never tried VR on VR and see how he reacts. So it's important to test with users who didn't try VR, because you will see what they think about the interactions. One of the interesting things is that you're using your hands and your body in VR. So it's not a requirement to know how to work on the computer, on the PC, or to use the phone. So you could put people that never used computer before and they don't know how to work in Word, Excel, or just don't know how to use computer. They can use VR, and the interaction in VR will feel natural for them. They will not try to click on with a laser pointer on a button. They will try to press with the hand. So those kind of things are important for the user, because the more immersive the experience is, it's better, and it's more easier for people to understand. So that's why we are mostly testing with the user who never tried the VR before.
I want to briefly go back to Ubisoft and your place there, and you basically leading company here in Serbia. What is innovation process there? What frameworks do you use, just to get some glimpse of that part of your experience?
Ubisoft as a group works on a co-development model. So when we have a big project, that project is developed by multiple studios inside the Ubisoft group, which one of the studios is a lead side that manages the product, but all together are making that product. That's in the products that we are making are mostly commercial, let's say. Most of them are commercial, because in that way you can have the stability and the company can be profitable. And it can sustain some kind of innovation where you could work and innovate in a lot of different kind of fields. We are innovating in the term of our own engines, game engines that we are using for our own development, the tools that we are using in-house. So there are a lot of different sections that are developed inside Ubisoft. Ubisoft was also one of the first company to invest in VR. So because the innovation is important to be the first in the market, to test the market. Ubisoft was also the first company to publish a game on Google Stadia. It's a cloud streaming platform for games where you are playing the game on any device that you can. And actually we in Belgrade worked a lot on Google Stadia, and we delivered 2 games last year in November and December. It was Ghost Recon Wildlands and Assassin's Creed Unity. And it's clearly a completely innovative platform. So most of the innovation that we are talking inside Ubisoft are based on the new platforms where we are working with first parties in building the ecosystem, building those kind of platforms. Like I said, VR, it's streaming platforms like Google Stadia, Amazon Luna, xCloud. There are also blockchain initiatives that are coming now. AI and those kind of things where you can innovate. The games that we developed for Stadia were very, very challenging, because most of the games are developed for Windows with DirectX framework for rendering. So it's a combination of frameworks. And for Google Stadia, it's Linux based, where you don't have any games on that almost. with Vulkan rendering framework. So it's a completely different technology stack that was not used before in the gaming industry. So everything was new for the team that worked on that, but it was also a really interesting challenge for the team that they really like working on Google Stadia, as it's very innovative and there are a lot of challenges and problems that you are solving when that new platform comes.
One personal question: did your paragliding hobby help you with career in VR in some way?
I'm not sure if it helped. Maybe for some things, because you are also learning about a different kind of senses when you are trying to fly. So it can help you with understanding, let's say, mostly your body and how it feels for a different kind of reactions. In paragliding, you have some kind of when you are doing some tricks, you are having some G forces that are affecting your body, and you learn about that a lot. So in VR is something similar, where you are also learning about your vestibular system, how it reacts to motion sickness, so those kind of things. If in paragliding you are doing some, let's say, tricks, your field of view is narrowing, so this is something that was used in VR for preventing motion sickness.
So you're engineering core, and I want to ask you a question. What does it take for a great engineer to become even greater leader?
In the first place, you need to start to learn how to work with people. I think people skills is something that's very important for that, and you need to be aware of that. You need to provide support and to value the team that you have, and to take care about their personal development in the technical sense, as well as the developing soft skills, let's say the people skills. One of the things that is very important is to be conscious about your problems that you have and your lack of skills in some kind of fields, and how to improve that. So you need constantly to learn new things and to invest a lot in learning about managing, about working with people, not just in the technical sense to learn how to do something in a special technology or something like that. It's very important to give feedback and to receive feedback and to learn how to react on it. There is no room for egoism there. You need to be open to accept all kind of negative feedbacks, as that is important for improving yourself, as well as you need to learn how to deliver negative feedback, because not all people are reacting the same to negative feedback. So those kind of things are very important, and you need to have those kind of open communication with all the people who you are working. It's important to work on their development with the feedback, because the common goal is all of us to work together better and to improve ourselves. So that's why I think it's very important to work on self-development, to work with the team, and to build them and to provide support for them.
And with all that said, can every great engineer be a great leader?
It depends. Someone wants to go in that career path, and someone doesn't want to be a leader. In Ubisoft, we have different career paths where you can choose where you can go. You could choose seniority career path, where you are working only on the technical side. You are working just as an expert in delivering the features in programming. And on the other part, you can work as a leader, as lead programmer, to work more with the people, to work on their development. The problem is that I see in Serbia, a lot of times they're mixing a lead programmer with development paths in the career. So you are becoming senior, and next you need to be a lead programmer. In Ubisoft, I learned that it's not like that. You can choose different career paths, and the senior can be on the same level as a lead programmer. Both are important for delivering the product. So I would say that it's not the same. It's not the common case to go to the lead programmers and to force that for every programmer. Sometimes it's good to have to go into seniority path, And this is also a problem that we have in hiring when we are trying to hire for a position of lead programmer, where the people assume that if you are the best programmer in the team, you will become the lead. It's not that. You need to have some people skills to work with the people. You don't need to be the best programmer. You need to know enough to handle the people there and to understand about the problems that they are talking about. So depends everything on the personal preference. So I would not force someone who doesn't want to be a lead to go to that leadership career path. It's very important to know what we want to do and what we want to be. And this is something that I see that people are not thinking a lot about, but they're thinking, okay, to improve in my career, I need to go in that leadership path.
We started today's innovation dialogue about the premise if VR is dead. So, but because we haven't been on its funeral, I want to ask you about the future of the VR. I'm sure that you're expecting something interesting in this field in the years that come.
Yeah, a lot of companies are investing a huge amount of money right now. It's not transparent as before, but everybody is investing in VR and AR, of course. Those two technologies are linked together. In the long term, I expect, let's say, that it would be like a normal pair of glasses that transform into VR headsets, as well as an AR headset, where they are overlaying the image on the real world, and maybe you could use it as a replacement for personal computer, for laptops, where you can project an image of a screen on the wall and have a virtual keyboard and mouse where you are using the device as a personal computer. The problem, of course, are the form factor, the quality of displays, or the processing power that those devices have. So those are the problems that we need to be solved for that to be achievable. I don't think that we'll see in the near future that, but we don't know what to expect because a lot of technology devices that we have right now, we would not imagine that to be present and to be developed 20 years ago. So technology is moving fast and we cannot know for sure in which direction the innovation will go. It's just some kind of estimation of ours, what could happen and what we want to achieve in the long term. Now we don't know how to do that, but we are slowly working toward that. In the, let's say, short term to mid term, I will definitely see any improvements of current generation of the headset. They will be more lightweight, they will be easier to set up. Hand tracking is already present, so they will be better hand tracking, eye tracking, those kind of let's say devices, gadgets for VR will be more affordable. The price is still a point for a high quality VR. So I think personally that we'll see a lot of improvements regarding the current devices, which are quite good, but improvements in every field, specifically for VR.
Adrian, thank you so much for this conversation, and it was very interesting for me. And how you guys in the paragliding say have a good winds, right? Something like that. And for you out there, if you enjoyed today's episode as I did, please subscribe and see you next Thursday when we talk about some other innovations. Adrian,
thank you.